Good morning, folks. Cornell with YouTube Fishing Vids. I'm back out here in my local lake, and it's mid-morning. I didn't get out here till about 9 a.m. or so, and I decided to just kick my day off right here at the boat ramp. I've got a really shallow pocket right here that I've always done real well on. In fact, I've done really well right on the shoreline when I've only got an hour or two to fish. So what I'm doing today on a Sunday is I'm fishing a little more finesse. There's a lot of guys up there in the parking lot. There's a lot of guys out on the lake, but a lot of times you don't see too many people right here by the boat ramp, and there's actually a really good opportunity right here where I sit. So I'm going to play a little bit of the drop shot game, some shaky head today. I'm definitely going to be throwing a square bill and spinnerbait, but as you see, it is dead calm. It's about 54 degrees right now in the morning, and it's getting up to the mid 70s. So today's going to be an absolutely gorgeous day, and I'm really excited to be out. Again, pre-spawn fishing is on. Water temperatures at only about 52 degrees right now. We had a cool night, maybe down in the maybe mid 40s or so, but we have a warm up coming. So these fish are going to get active. It's going to be a great day, I'm sure. So you'll just stay tuned. Let's see how many pre-spawn bass want to bite my bait. Another reason why I'm going to be going finesse today is because the last time I was out here, we had that 2-day warm up, 60 some degrees for 2 days in a row. Water temperatures started out right here at the boat ramp at about 50 degrees, but way back up a creek, I was in about 55 to 56 degrees by the mid-late afternoon. So right now with the water temperatures about 1.5 degrees or so warmer than the morning 2-3 days ago, it's a good time to do finesse. You know, it's early, it's cooler. The fish are probably a little more lethargic after a cool night. So I'm just going to try and finesse them up a little bit until that sun, which is breaking out right now, warms this water up just a hair and gets these fish a little more active to maybe throw some moving baits. So here's my setup. I've got my Lew's Custom Speed Stick Drop Shot Special. That's a killer rod, man. You guys have seen this in tons and tons of my videos. It's early in the season though. It's been a while since maybe you've seen me use this. So it's a 6'10", medium light, extra fast. So this beast is just absolutely ultra sensitive, ultra light. There's 6-pound test. I do have a pretty good length leader. It's probably a rod's length of 6-pound test in Vizex fluorocarbon cigar, and there's a little really economical Gremlin bullet bull shot weight. It's actually shaped like a little bullet weight, but it actually can be pinched on. So make a tiny little knot at the end, pinch it on, and it's lead. So it's not the tungsten deal. If you're not fishing a tournament and you want to save a little bit of money and just use lead versus tungsten, that's just an 1/8 of an ounce. Just a little 1/8 of an ounce. I got a little drop shot hook. Really, it'd be a little, I think it might be a number 4, and a RoboWorm, my famous 6-inch Morning Dawn straight-tailed RoboWorm. Absolutely perfect setup. This happens to be a CI4 C3000 Shimano Stratic reel. Just absolutely super smooth drag. And the main line is only 8-pound test original Power Pro, so it casts like it casts a mile. So real sensitive setup, really great finesse setup for right now in this very pressured lake of mine with really nice clear water right where I'm at. So hopefully it'll pick up a bass or two, at least tell me a tale. And as the day progresses, like I said, I might be moving away from finesse to maybe some moving baits depending on the conditions. Okay, I made a little change up. They're not biting on the bottom, at least they weren't for the time I fished the drop shot. But now I've got a ultra finesse little swim bait. I'm going to show this to you guys. It's a Kitech Easy Shiner. I think it's a silver minnow flash. Let's see what color this thing is. Easy Shiner and the silver flash minnow. The sun, like I said, is just peeking out. The water's pretty clear. And I've got it set up weedless on a belly weighted little itty bitty mustad swim bait hook. It's absolutely perfect because I've got some sunken timber in here. I got some tree stumps and all kinds of stuff in here I can get snagged on if I had an open hook design. But tell me how sweet that little package is. Hook's a little big, it's not that bad, but it's a little belly weighted swim bait hook on a little tiny Kitech Easy Shiner. I believe that's the just a little 4-inch, so it's real subtle. It's got a great little bit of flash to it with this sunshine and no underspin routine, no flashy deal. Again, a real pressured lake, and I'm seeing all kinds of fish. 4 feet out to about 7, and they're all suspended. There may be a lot of crappie in here too, but crappie will eat the heck out of this thing, there's no question. So I got a chance of whacking the giant pre-spawn bass, a bunch of little crappie, and yes, I did bring a stringer today, so you never know how that'll go. So I'm just gonna slowly crawl this through this sunken timber, bump it into some stumps, and see if something wants to latch on. And then this is just a great thing to have tied on all throughout the pre-spawn when you get into that heavy cover and you got fish coming up real shallow and you're at a real pressured lake. Maybe some real clear water when they don't want to hit the square bills, they don't want to hit the noisy crankbaits with rattles and rattle traps, and even spinnerbaits with the real subtle blade. Sometimes it's just a little much when it's calm like this. So here's a perfect scenario: drop shot, shaky head, Ned rig, real finesse swim bait. So let's see what this does. Let's keep on rolling. And I have it set up on a spinning rod if you didn't notice, and that's gonna help me get some really good long casts. It's a 7 foot, another custom speed stick. I got a bunch of them. This is my shaky head special. I use it for soft plastic shaky heads, just a medium fast action, I believe is all it is, just a medium 7 footer. Nothing to it, guys. And another Stratic. This happens to be a 2500 series with 12-pound test fluorocarbon, and that's a Invesex Cigar 10-pound test leader, maybe about yay long, maybe about 2 feet long, maybe 30 inches. That's about all that is. So easy casting, real subtle, and real sweet. Let's hope the bass think it's a little dessert coming their way. All right, guys, it's time for me to make a little run. So I did that little boat ramp area routine that I like to do every now and then to see if there's anything going on. With 50-degree water temps, there's fish there. I see them. Like I said, a lot of them might be crappie. I didn't get a bite. That tells me a tale. I don't spend a lot of time over there. If I'm not getting a bite almost right away on a drop shot or a super subtle little swim bait, it's not happening. So I'm gonna go up a creek. I'm gonna go up a creek and find a couple degree water temperature rise, and I'll work that angle. So that should be the spot I need to be. And as the day progresses and it warms up, and hopefully should get kind of busy. So you can see how slick calm it is. It's gonna be a little different than my last video when I had a little bit of wind and a lot going on with the spinner bait. So let's keep on trucking and play the cards as they're dealt. All right, I found 54-degree water temperatures coming up the arm here and into this creek of my local lake. So actually 54.4, so that's about 3 degrees warmer back here, folks, and I'm on a point. So with that said, there's a tiny bit of wind, just barely a breeze, not doing as much as I'd like it to do for a jerkbait, but I'm gonna throw it anyway. So I got myself a absolutely beautiful deep diving shadow wrap, a Rapala Shad Rap in the perch pattern. Lots of perch in this lake, great match to the hatch routine. I've got some fallen timber right on this point, and I've caught them here before on jerkbaits about this time of year. So let's just see if anything's willing to bite a jerkbait. See if I can get a moving bait bite right off the bat this far back, and then we'll move on back a little farther and see what else is going on. 54-degree water, I can work my jerkbait a little bit faster, so we've got a little bit more aggressive fish in this water temperature than what we'd be doing with the jerkbait in real cold water. So not much pausing with this jerkbait. We're giving it some action. So 10-pound test fluorocarbon, another custom speed stick, the jerkbait special, and a little bit shorter rod, keeping my rod from slapping the surface with my short self. All right, this point was worth a shot, but the sun is actually right in my face, blowing that way, not blowing that way, shining that way, warming that bank, and that's actually the direction of the wind. So I'm heading over there because all the surface water that's getting warmed up is blowing right up against that bank and that point beyond. So I'm gonna run over there with this jerkbait and touch a few of those areas and see if anything's happening, and then maybe slow down again, maybe go finesse. We're just trying to work the pattern, folks. We're just trying to figure out what the bass are doing on what is going to be an absolutely gorgeous day. And sometimes a gorgeous day makes fishing tough. It's gonna be high pressure, bluebird skies, very light wind. So let's just keep on rolling, see what happens. Okay guys, it's time to break out the square bill. Nothing on the points. Even with a little wind, the fish are there. I see a few fish suspended, but now guys, I'm telling you, it's pushing 56 degrees. I just came around the point with all this wind blowing, and only within the past 20 minutes, half an hour, that sun has warmed the water up that much. So just a tiny little tinge to the water, not really staying pretty clear. That's my little crappie patterned Bandit 100. My Bandit 100 little crappie pattern square bill going right up against the banks, right up against the cover, and we're gonna be banging into some stuff and getting a deflection, and hopefully that reaction bite. I'll be hitting every little stick and stump and rock and anything and everything I see. I'm going to be banging it into it with this little Bandit, and that's going to hopefully solicit the bite I'm hoping for. And the farther back I get, the warmer it's going to get, and the shallower it's going to get. There's going to be that much more to fish, that many more targets to hit. So that's my goal today. You know, it was all day long with the spinnerbait last time, but again, the wind is real subtle right now. The sky is really bright. I'm just gonna be feathering this little square bill right over top of anything I see, and hopefully that'll get them. I could be throwing my little red square bill, but this little subtle, more natural pattern with this fairly clear water and bright sky is gonna be the way to go. Today, little ghost minnow, bluegill patterns, things like that would be great in this lake too. I might break those out, but for right now, like I said, the crappie is gonna hopefully smack a couple. All right, we're gonna switch gears. I'm looking at a lot of fish down in about 10 to 12 feet of water, and they are just off the bottom. So I'm gonna take that little swim bait, that real subtle little Kitech easy shiner, and I'm gonna bring it right through them. I'm gonna see if they're crappie, I'm gonna see if they're bass. Pretty big marks, so I'm curious to see what they are. I got a tree right down here in the water and a big group of fish, so it's a good chance they are some crappie. But I am gonna test the waters and see what exactly we're dealing with. So let me get that little spinning rod out with that little easy shiner and see if we can make something happen with these fish that are off the banks. They're not quite on the banks. I've thrown that square bill quite a bit, just like the other day, nothing. So let's see what happens with this little guy and go from there. Whatever they are, they don't want anything moving. So let's do this. I see them. I'm gonna pick up my drop shot and I'm gonna drop them right on top of their heads and see if that's gonna get them. So hang tight, let me get the drop shot out and see what happens. It's been a tough bite, so I'm always gonna add a little scent to the drop shot. Give them a little extra reason to hold on. Let's line this up. I've got a little tree, I've got a lot of marks, and I've got a really steep bank, real steep bank dropping straight off into 10 feet of water, about barely 10 feet out. So let's see what happens right here with this drop shot. That tree's coming out and the branches are just going left and right, and there's all kinds of covered right down there, about 10 feet of water. So to the left and right of that tree, there's all kinds of marks. Again, maybe crappie, they like a drop shot too. So let's see if we can grab a fish, because it's been a slow morning. There's a handful of guys out here. I hear them chatting with each other up on the banks and out on the boats, and they're asking what's going on, because it's a tricky time of year. One day it could be a big old 4.5 pounder on a spinnerbait. The next day it could be crickets. All right, so there's a lot of cover down there, and I just broke off. And the reason I broke off is because the last time I was fishing a drop shot on this setup, I had my open hook design going on. So that open hook, I can rig that plastic just well enough to be kind of weedless, but I'm gonna go Texas rig, guys. And when I'm throwing in a cover like this, and I've got some brush piles and branches and everything else, I should have been Texas rigged, and I should have known it, but I thought I'd just throw it down there and see what I can do. So I'm gonna retie, get myself a little rebarb robo worm hook, hooked up by gamete and a 1/0, and it's gonna be all set up with the same 1/8 ounce weight, and I'm gonna be a little more weedless, so hang tight. All right, so I'm back in that tree that ate my last drop shot setup. Let's see if this Texas rig comes through it a little bit better. And with that happening, hopefully get the attention of a bass that's hiding down in that brush about 8 to 10 feet deep. A lot of you may think I'm crazy to use 6-pound test throwing in the branches of a submerged tree like this, but you got to get the bite before you can get the fish. And this lake is so heavily pressured, and it's a Sunday, and I know guys were out here yesterday just hammering every piece of cover there is. So any and all of these fish that are in here probably saw it all, from Texas rigs to jigs to spinner baits over the heads and crankbaits in their face. So yeah, I'm going to throw this on 6-pound test, take my chances, and generally if I play it right, I'm going to do okay. The drag is not set too tight. And yeah, I should be able to work them out of there pretty well. And I've done it before, so it should be okay. Folks, when you know you can't get a nibble on a drop shot, you know it's tough. It's a little rough out here. What's nice though is the wind's starting to pick up. I mean, it's starting to pick up a good bit. So enough for me to want to throw that spinnerbait again. So I'm going to break out the spinnerbait. What's that? Let's see, drop shot, square bill, jerkbait. Now I'm going to throw this. Now I'm going to throw the spinnerbait. That's my 4th routine so far today, and I've only been out here about an hour, barely. So let's go ahead and throw that spinnerbait a little bit. Beat this bank up. Now that this wind is right on this bank with the sun on that bank, so that's everything you want. You want a warming water hitting the bank, and you want that sun hitting the bank to get these fish going. So let's get that spinnerbait out and see what happens. Caught me my personal best 2019 just the other day. Might as well throw it again. There's the 1/2 ounce in that War Eagle double willow. Silver big, gold small, and the wind is right. So let's get chucking and winding. There we go. First fish of the day, guys. He just swept up. It was absolutely a dink, but it's a first fish and it's on a spinnerbait. So at least it tells me that the fish might be biting this thing, and we just need to get a bigger one. So fish number 1, and it's been about an hour and a half maybe since I started fishing. So let's upgrade from there, we hope. But there's number 1. Looks like we got a dinosaur that wants to come up and say hello. So I've seen turtles all over the banks, but now I got this absolutely giant, big old snapping turtle just hanging out on the surface, sunning himself. Sign of the times. He's huge. He's been around a long time. Jeez Louise, look at his tail. Big old head on him. All right, guys, it's going to be time to, we're going to switch gears here. I'm going to put up the spinnerbait. A lot of guys fishing, a lot of guys on the shoreline. A couple boats have been back here along the shore. The wind is still blowing, but not that much. So you know what I'm gonna do? Is I'm gonna break out a Shad Rap, a Rapala Shad Rap number 7. I've got that all hooked up on a bait casting setup, a real light action rod, since it's such a lightweight balsa wood bait. But that's what I'm throwing, guys. This guy right here in the crawl pattern. So that's gonna be on 8-pound test copolymer, and it's P-line, I think CX something line. I could leave a link in the description below, but on a real light action St. Croix medium light bait casting setup, 6.5 footer, and it's making no noise, but it's got a good color to it for the stained water. So I'm gonna launch this out here with a real tight wiggle. Even though this is a great bait for, you know, real cold water, this is still the ideal temperatures for the Shad Rap. Anything between 50, 55 degrees up to 60 degrees. It catches fish all day long, all year long, in tons of species. I'm gonna just throw this real subtle, real tight wiggling bait all over this place, all up on the banks. It runs probably about 5 to 7 feet, 5 to 8 feet deep on this 8-pound test. So let's see what the Shad Rap can do, since it's real quiet, real subtle, and hopefully it'll snag a few fish that didn't want to bite anything else from anybody else, since it's been such a tough day. Oh, guys, I got first. Oh, it's a big old crappie. Whoa, guys, look at the size of this crappie on my Shad Rap. You know what? I got a stringer. He's coming home with me. There's a blackened fish sandwich happening. That is a nice slab on a Shad Rap. So I just broke it out, guys. That's literally only about 5 minutes in to throwing this real subtle little balsa wood crankbait. Awesome, very cool. So I thought I'd be getting into some of those crappies, so I sure have. Let's turn that around so you can get a look at that. The sun's always a little tricky with these, with the sun. It's a high noon about right now, guys, but there you go. That's a nice little white crappie. Let's go ahead and put the stringer on them, put them overboard, and keep them for a little bit later. Like I said, the Shad Rap's a multi-species catching machine. It's just an absolutely awesome subtle bait. If you're in a pressured body of water and you're struggling and all the noisy crankbaits and lipless cranks and spinnerbaits and chatterbaits aren't working, 50, 55, 60 degrees, that Shad Rap shines, man. From the number 5, they have a number 6, a number 7, number 8, all based on the size you think you need to match the hatch. This number 7 is the perfect bait fish size / crawfish size, because this actually somewhat emulates a crawfish. I've got tons of crawfish in here if I'm fishing the craw color. It's just scooting along the bottom, just emulating the crawfish that are in here, and from the crappie to the bass and everything else in between. They love eating this little Shad Rap, so I'm gonna keep on rolling with it here for a little bit, see what happens. There we go. All right, right up on the bank, about where I caught one of my nice little bass the other day on a spinnerbait, and he ate the Shad Rap. Only a few casts later, I was out a little more in the open, and now I'm right on the bank and got myself a little fish. Let's see, little bass, but it's a bass. So there's number 2 bass and 1 crappie. Not a bad little fish. I'll take it any day. Eating the Shad Rap. Isn't that awesome? Great deal. All right, let's get you back and go have fun. So what's so great about a subtle, super lightweight balsa wood crankbait like this is that I can throw it right up against that bank, and in comparison to that big old hefty 1.5 ounce spinnerbait, it just hits that water so quietly, and I can just feather it right over the wood. Just keep my rod tip high when it's real shallow. Let it, and it's not quite what a square bill will do, but it's bouncing through the wood, it's bouncing through the cover, and then it gets out in the open water and just has a real tight wiggle. And if there's bass just hanging out, kind of putting their nose up to the bank, waiting for a little meal, it's gonna go right over their heads or right in their face, and they're gonna smack it. This thing dives just deep enough to kind of maintain contact with the bottom. It's great on the rocks, it's great in wood, but as you can see, I've got a little bit more muck down there on the bottom, so you may deal with that, but it's well worth throwing this little balsa wood bait when things are tough and it gets a little pressured out there. There we go. Decent fish on the Shad Rap, guys. Decent fish. Right on a piece of wood. I'm glad I picked this up. So I went through a whole bunch of baits and I lost them. Well, I went through a whole bunch of baits, but that Shad Rap right there is taking care of business. Let's see if I can find another one. It's a real light action rod, so it's hard to get that hook set sometimes, but those hooks are sharp, but he just barely nipped it. So let's see if we can get another one. That was about a 3-pounder. The deal is with these light balsa wood baits is you have to have a pretty light action rod. So a light action rod like this gets you the casting distance, gives you the cushion of the blow when that big bass hits that bait, gives them a chance to suck it in, but you do risk the chance of not bearing those hooks quite good enough. I've upgraded these hooks. They're mega sharp, but he just had it right on the edge of the mouth. I could see when he jumped and he shook it and it was all gone. That was a really nice fish. Hopefully there'll be more of those to come. Guys, I hope that's a fish. Yes, it is. I got another nice one on the Shad Rap. Let's see if I can keep this one. This is a nice fish. Yeah, it's a really nice fish. So there's number 4 fish, I think it is, and hopefully one more in the boat because I lost that nice one last time. This is a nice fish. Oh, he's hooked pretty well. I don't think he's coming off. Beautiful. 8-pound Tesco polymer. Look at the red eyes on this guy. Wow, what a pretty fish. Come here, right next to my crappie. Look at the red eyes on that guy. Isn't that beautiful, guys? Check it out. Shad Rap. I'm telling you, this is the deal when times. Hey, thanks, buddy. I got a little audience up here on the bike path. So guys, this is the deal. The Shad Rap, no rattle, super subtle balsa wood, 8-pound test, light action rod, super tight wiggle, 57-degree water temperature. That's the gig right there when everybody and their mother's out here beating the banks with spinner baits, crankbaits, even those beautiful, wonderful, even the quiet square bill crankbaits sometimes are just a little much, but the Shad Rap takes care of business. So there we go, just working through all kinds of baits, trying to figure out a pattern. I'm on some rocks, I'm on some wood, and I'm just beating banks and windy banks. So beautiful fish. Going back. I really wanted to continue doing some power fishing. I really wanted to pull some baits. I didn't want to stop and have to throw that drop shot or break out a Ned rig or a shaky head. I want to keep moving. I want to catch these fish that are ready to eat. And it's just, I know what's going on with the pressure and all these banks being beat up. I just had to get as subtle a moving bait as I could. That's why I tied on that little Kitech, that little easy shiner earlier also. I could easily be throwing that up against the banks, but this is just about as subtle as it gets when it comes to a crankbait. So either one of those could probably work. This color with these clouds now, the clouds are moving in a little bit. It's just a great color, and the water is a lot more clear here than it was farther back up the creek where I was. So it's still a good color. It's still emulating the crawfish that are in here, which is right in tune with what these bass are eating nonstop. There's so many crawfish in this lake, it's unbelievable. So Shad Rap number 7, craw, 8-pound Tesco polymer on a little whippy stick rod is working out. So let's keep on rolling with it. All right, folks, I've made it back out to the main lake here. The wind is blowing at my back. I'm cruising down the shoreline with a whole bunch of wood, and the clouds have moved in. There's a front coming. There is rain in the forecast for tomorrow. So I'm on my way back to the ramp. It's been a heck of a day. Hopefully I'll catch one more fish. I'm gonna make it probably about 20 minutes down the end of the shoreline. We're gonna call it. So stick with me, see if we can land one more fish. And folks, that's gonna do it. That's the end of my little strip of land that I'm gonna beat up with this spinnerbait. We're gonna call it. Oh, guys, this is not for real. I'm serious. You all saw the cast. You saw me about to sign out, and I got a sign out fish on the last cast. I can't believe it. It's a decent little fish on a spinnerbait. What is the chances of that, guys? I'm going to buy a lottery ticket tonight. That was crazy. That was the last little piece of wood I had planned on hitting, and I got myself one more bass to call it a day. Isn't that crazy? Golly, thank you, War Eagle. And that makes 2 spinnerbait fish, and you guys got to see me go through the arsenal, all kinds of stuff, guys, for pre-spawn bass fish to try to figure out some kind of pattern. Actually threw some soft plastics, did a lot of moving baits, but that little Shad Rap, that thing did the number. I lost a really nice fish on it, but I'm just happy that I even hooked it, and I'm glad I got a handful of fish and a little blackened fish sandwich coming my way thanks to a slab crappie. So folks, every day is a new day on the water in the springtime. You just got to figure out what's going on, play the cards as they're dealt, like I said earlier, and you should be able to catch some fish. And if you get skunked, it's just another day out on the water having fun, right? So folks, as always, I appreciate you joining me. As always, I appreciate you subscribing. Until we meet again, over and out.